before Thanksgiving, the state and FBI began receiving reports of unidentified drone activity across many of the counties in New Jersey, including in my district. Reports of drone activity have only surged since then, literally coming in by the scores every day. Some reports have suggested that these drones are the size of small cars. According to our military officials, since November 13th, Picatinny Arsenal, which is a defense base in New Jersey, the Army facility, which is specifically in Morris County, has had 11 confirmed sightings of unauthorized drones flying over its airspace. Just this morning, Senator Andy Kim reported that he saw several drones himself with his own eyes just last night. I understand why so many in our community and our state are concerned when you hear reports of drones flying above us or see activity yourself, and federal agencies responsible for controlling the airspace don't properly and quickly brief the public, then it leaves a large vacuum of information. As a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, I have been in regular communication with our federal law enforcement officials, including the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security and the FAA. And we expect additional classified briefings early next week. I want folks to understand, and I want to know for certain, where are these drones coming from? Because right now, there appears to be huge question about where they're coming from, of these unauthorized drones. I want you to know that based on the information, the briefings that I've received to date, I'm not concerned about any imminent threats to public safety or our national security regarding these drones. But, and I've made this very clear to the FBI, to Homeland Security, and the FAA, the agencies chiefly responsible for monitoring drone activity, they must immediately disclose more information to the public. It's totally and completely unacceptable that you have all this drone activity going on that people are seeing with their own eyes, and even if it's not all drone activity and some of it is manned aircraft, there appears to be plenty of drone activity that people are seeing with their own eyes. The fact that the federal agencies responsible for briefing the public have not come forward in a clear way is unacceptable. There has to be some explanation to the public for all this increased activity, and they must do so now. That's why I've written to the FBI, DHS, and FAA this week and asked them to immediately brief the public, not on a piece of paper, but in person. They also need to work closely with state and local law enforcement, who've done a very good job of bringing in a lot of this information, to give them the equipment they need to monitor drone activity. There's clearly too much of it here in Jersey and other parts of the country. Today, I'm also urging federal law enforcement agencies, which are led by the FBI and DHS, to allow state and local law enforcement to deploy assets that can safely take down drones that shouldn't be in the air right now. The technology exists to be able to do this, and law enforcement, working with federal agency parents, need the tools to react and address any threats from unwelcome and unregistered drones. Again, they have to work closely with their partners. I'm talking about DHS and the FBI, which are the lead agencies, the FBI being the lead agency, right? And make sure that local law enforcement has the tools they need and work closely with their partners in federal law enforcement to make sure that any threats from unwelcome and unregistered drones are dealt with. Together with legislation that I've introduced called the Radar Act to expand federal grants for local law enforcement, to make radar systems more available to state and local police to be able to track these drones. This will ensure that only the drones that should be in the air for registered purposes are in the air. I'm not talking about small recreational drones at the beach or taking pictures at a wedding. I'm talking about drones that fly over military bases, reservoirs, airports, first responder locations, critical infrastructure, and other sensitive sites performing reconnaissance. Drones that are unlicensed, unregistered, and unwelcome should not be flying over our airspace. For instance, drones just a few weeks ago prevented a medical helicopter from landing to help a car crash victim in Somerset County. New Jersey can't become the Wild West of drone activity. No state can become the Wild West of drone activity. And Americans shouldn't have to worry about what's flying unauthorized overhead, especially as technology like AI advances at an unprecedented clip. I assure you, as a member of the Intelligence Committee, I remain laser focused on making sure that random, unidentified drone activity isn't something that our communities will have to deal with going forward. But this is about taking steps to make sure that local law enforcement, state law enforcement, have the tools they need to monitor and deal with unauthorized drone activity, especially over critical infrastructure, over first responder sites, over reservoirs, over places over our military bases, places where these drones should not be. And right away, and I'll say this again, the FBI should be standing at a podium of the Department of Homeland Security and briefing the public and explaining to them what these drones are. And the Federation, the ADL, and of course, I'm standing here with many esteemed elected. Based on what I've heard, and I've talked to a lot of people as well, that many of these are large, very large, size of half a car. And I believe the state police in a helicopter, is what I heard from a state legislator, told me that the state police was up in a helicopter and saw a very large drone and then backed away from the drone, and then the drone moved away. But again, that's just what I heard, and I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people, and I've just seen images. And the bottom line is, there's clearly stuff out there. What is it? I know, based on what the monitoring that we can do, that it's not an imminent threat to public safety, but still we should know where they're coming from. Who's putting these drones up, right? And I think everyone has a right to know. It's ridiculous. I think it's totally ridiculous that we don't have more information. It's ridiculous that the FBI and DHS is not briefing the public right now on everything they know about what these drones are and where they're coming from. That's their responsibility. They're the ones who have the technology to do it, and they're responsible for it, and they should do it without delay. It's why I've called on them to do it. And by the way, they should work with their state and local partners who are doing an amazing job dealing with all the incoming on this, to have the technology to monitor and to be able to get these drones that are in the wrong place out of the air. Thanks, guys.
It's right above us. The thing is right above our house. Literally right on top of it. What the fuck is that? It's a drone. It has to be a drone. There's so many of them out here. I've seen like 4.
It's Friday night, about 12:40 at night. I'm coming home from work at the TV show I produce, On Patrol Live, and I'm driving into Montclair, and all of a sudden, right over the horizon, I see what looks like the full moon. Only it can't be the full moon because the full moon was 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, the moon is starting to move to my left, and it's heading towards me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, no, it's not the moon. Maybe it's a plane. And no, it doesn't look anything like a plane. It's way too big, and it's way too low in the sky, and it's the middle of the night. Then I think maybe it's a helicopter. No, it's not a helicopter. Then suddenly it gets closer, and it's hovering right over the trees, and it looks like, I guess, an enormous drone. I'm not even sure what I've never seen anything like it. It's just a drone on steroids.
I don't know if you can tell how many of these there are, but there's 3 here, 1 up here, another one up here, another one back behind this tree in this direction. Oh my God, what is that?
It was just about the size of a school bus, hovering about 150 feet over the trees, and I can't keep my eyes off it, yet I want to take a picture. So I jump out of the car, to get a better look at it, and I'm also hoping that someone else is there, but it's like late at night, there's no other cars on the road. I pull over, get out of my car. It's now hovering right over the trees. And then I realized I should take a picture. I reach back into my car, grab my phone, and as I come back out of my car with my phone, I go up to take a picture and it starts immediately zooming away, almost like it had seen what I was trying to do. It starts coming closer and closer. I start seeing some lights. No sound. I did not hear anything. And I don't even know if it's a drone. It had lights on it, which is weird because when I saw it in the distance, it was all white. But when it got closer and started hovering, there were green and red lights. And I'm like, it looks kind of like a drone, but it was just way too big. It was like about 40 feet by 40 feet and had lights on all four ends, and it was hovering but not making any noise. I've seen plenty of drones. I'm also an experienced birder. I've been bird watching since 4th grade. I'm the president of the Montclair Bird Club. I know how to look in the sky. I know how to identify things. So to me, it's not like I'm this like amateur sky gazer. This was like, I right away knew this was something unusual, very unusual. So I'm looking up in the sky, and this is like nothing I've ever seen before, and the size is what really spooked me. Like, this is the enormity of this object. It was the enormity of this object combined with the fact that it was, looking at my watch, 12:43 in the morning, made me think this is something that is bizarre. So the next morning, I look up, who do I call? That's the big mystery is when you see something that you don't know what it is, who do you call? Like, it's not like you go into Yellow Pages and like UFO spottings. You know, it's like, I had no idea who to call, but as a journalist, I knew, all right, probably the FAA would be the first choice. So I called the FAA, leave them a message. They still have not responded. I even called a second time 2 days later, still no answer. Called the FBI, still no response. And in the meantime, I posted what happened. I posted my experience on Facebook, and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, that's all you're hearing about are these drones. And over the horizon, I see what looks like the full moon. Except, I never felt like this was a UFO. To me, my first thought was like, this is some sort of weird, like, military secret aircraft experiment kind of thing. Like, that was my first thought. And it can't be the full moon because the full moon was 2 weeks previously. Then all of a sudden, what do I think should happen? I would just like the government to be a little more open about what's going on here, because it's scary. You got stuff flying at night in the sky over, like, you know, a very highly populated area. You want to at least have a little bit of like transparency and let us know that, you know, we have nothing to worry about, because like people are actually starting to panic a little bit.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat or have a foreign nexus.
The door, I go out that way, and there's a right over there, maybe 200 feet that way. From that standpoint, drone sightings in New Jersey started around November 18th. A couple of Sundays ago, I actually went outside and I saw 60 specific drones around my township, which is the township of Pequannock. And this is an issue, and I started reaching out to our elected officials and I wasn't getting any answers. Nobody knew anything. It was raining a couple of days, so I really didn't expect to see it, but right out that way. So when I say drones, normal people are thinking about a drone, you know, about this big, the size of their hand, something that's smaller. The drones that I'm seeing are the smallest size. There's basically two different ones that I'm seeing. One is the size of roughly a suitcase, something about this big. Another one is the size of an SUV. This thing is huge and it sounds like a small jet. It is massive and it looks like a plane. They're concerned, you know, because here's the problem. Somebody sees drones, that's one thing. But now you see drones coming back night after night after night. That's another. And then you see the drones literally over your house. Now we're talking about an invasion of privacy. And now, because of what's going on in today's day and age, with everything with media, whether it's X or YouTube or regular media out there, people see what's going on in the world, whether it's Syria, whether it's Ukraine. They see things being dropped from drones. So my constituents, absolutely, you know, there's an issue there. They have questions. Those questions need to be answered. You know, it's either friendly or foe. That's what it comes down to. And in either case, the question is, why? You know, I don't want to think conspiracy. I don't want to think nefarious. But unfortunately, I think we have a responsibility to think that way so we're ahead of anything bad that could possibly happen. I need answers. The number one thing is I need answers. You know, yesterday we had a meeting that was supposed to be with the governor and all the mayors of New Jersey. Now, New Jersey has 565 townships or municipalities. There was about 180 mayors there, which is huge. That was a great showing. Unfortunately, our governor was not there. That was very disrespectful. This is something that you have drones. You have an invasion coming into the state of New Jersey, hundreds or thousands of them all over everybody's houses, only about 200 feet high. This is priority. It needs to be made priority. We need to find out what's going on now, and I demand answers.